All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing space with us today. This is our second workshop of our SPC Training and Outreach Community Wellness Series. So thanks to everyone who joined our first workshop in April on mindfulness. It was well attended and very well received. This series will be exploring evidence-based strategies to cultivate sustainable self-care, to promote suicide prevention and overall mental health well-being. Today's workshop is entitled Spirituality, Cultivating Hope, and Well-Being. And I guess it would help if I shared my screen. All right. Is everyone reading that? Yeah, super. Cultivating hope and well-being, tapping into our inner selves. We're going to do a little bit of housekeeping and then dive in. We have a good group here. Yay. If everyone could mute, thank you. There's no co-facilitator, so I'm going to monitor the chat as much as possible. And Benjamin Watts, our amazing administrative assistant, will be with me and helping me as well. Thank you, Benjamin. So let's get started. A little bit about me. My name is Pinese Joshua. I am the D.D. Hirsch Suicide Prevention Center Training and Outreach Coordinator 2. I am trained as a cultural anthropologist. My research documents worldviews and rituals of Indigenous elders related to sacred places in nature and how these worldviews and practices and belief systems might impact greater communal mental well-being. I've worked with cultures in the Peruvian Andes, the Canadian Rockies. I've studied meditation with Tibetan monks in the Himalayas. Before joining D.D. Hirsch about 3 years ago, I worked with UCLA as a community mental health educator. And that's a little bit about me. So thank you again for joining us. Let's get started. So to begin, yes, we're going to do a corny icebreaker. Here you go. The prompt is, if I could have an adventure anywhere on the planet or beyond, I'd visit. So please put that into the chat. If I could have an adventure anywhere on the planet or beyond, I'd visit. Okay, let's see what we've got here. This is so funny. Clara, I was reading Clara. Clara would visit 821202. That's our passcode. Paris, France. Ireland, oh, Iceland, India, a forest, outer space. Yes, I want to go to the Pleiades, Spain, Australia, and outer space. Ireland, Fiji, Tahiti, Tuscany. Wonderful, a diverse group of seekers in here. Like it. All right. So let's get started here. A little bit about D.D. Hirsch, in case you don't know about us. We are a large mental health services organization in Southern California. We have 10 sites. Some of our services include training and outreach, mental health services, child and family services, wellness drop-in centers, and substance abuse services. And we service nearly 190,000 clients a year, and we certainly promote whole person care. Within D.D. Hirsch is the Suicide Prevention Center, and this was founded in 1958 as the nation's first suicide prevention center. And we have the crisis line, which is 988. It's the crisis line, text and chat. We also do debriefs in schools and agencies. We also have training and education, which is where I live. We provide community-facing suicide prevention trainings to a wide range of organizations, colleges, universities, clinicians, students, law enforcement, corporations, and more. We also have therapy and support. The Suicide Prevention Center Counseling Center, SPCC, is located in Century City. We also have SAS, which is Survivors After Suicide Support Group, and this is one of our oldest programs. And SOSA, Survivors of Suicide Attempt Support Groups. This is internationally recognized as a best practice. All right, so here's our team. Yay. Small but mighty and growing. You can use the QR code to check out our website. So let's get started. Today's presentation will be broken up into three modules. The first mod, we're going to start looking at some basic definitions about religion and spirituality. We'll do a quick view of the timeline of research in mental health when it comes to using spiritual practices and strategies and the positive outcomes. And then we'll look at, well, why is it important? A quick historical overview. For Mod 2, we're going to look at spirituality in terms of a case study with the Department of Mental Health. And we'll also look at spirituality assessment tools. We'll do a breakout exercise in the end of that mod. And then finally in Mod 3, we will wind it up. Talk a little bit more about cultivating self-care. If we have time, we'll do a group mindfulness exercise. I got requests to do that one again. And we'll open it up for questions and answers. We also want to remind you that we always try to make our trainings safe and inclusive. We realize that discussing suicide or even mental well-being can be activating. So do whatever you need to do to feel safe and comfortable. All right, any questions? Any feedback? Super, let's get going. And I just need to say, I told Ben this before we started. This morning, I had the onset of the worst toothache in my upper right quadrant. So if I faint, I'm at 30 Dudley. Call 911. All right, everyone, let's get started. So let's take a look at defining what is religion and what is spirituality. We're not going to go through all of these, but in basic terms, religion is a culturally shared set of beliefs and values. These are people who share similar experience of God and the transcendent, whereas spirituality is conceptualized a little bit more of an individual's subjective relationship with God, or more broadly, the sacred. You know, in the mental health literature, there are many variations of meaning. We're using Hodge as he is the most highly cited. So let's dive a little bit deeper here. Religion is more of a clearly defined belief system. It includes what you should believe, how, when, why, right? There is a particular God or numerous gods. There is a set guideline on how to worship, the theology, the belief system, and moral codes. When we look at spirituality, it's not so much a set of defined beliefs. It's more of an subjective, loving relationship with self, others, and something beyond. It could be termed a search for inner freedom, peace of mind, meaning, and purpose. The takeaway here is that when looking at spirituality, it can be viewed from an expression of religion all the way to being devoid of religion. So spirituality is a very broad term, but there are some shared goals. And so you can see this with religion and spirituality. Some of those shared goals is that no matter what the practice, we are seeking meaning in our lives, a type of connection or belonging, and, you know, practicing some type of belief or rituals. I like to say that the ultimate goal, and this is my anthropological mind speaking here, but the ultimate goal of religion and spirituality is to explain or bring order to the mysteries of human existence. All right, so why is it important in mental health? You know, surveys indicate that up to 80% of people use spiritual beliefs and activities to cope with daily difficulties and frustrations. Spiritual coping is highly prevalent in clients with serious mental illness, suicide ideation, and other issues. And this slide mentions patients, but of course, we use client and consumer. And so the timeline of research of spirituality and mental health, just a quick overview. About 30 years ago, building on Engel's biopsychosocial model for approaching mental health in a holistic and integrative framework, transpersonal psychology and transpersonal disciplines arose and began to look at how to treat a patient beyond the ego and self, and it focused much more on spirituality and mental health in spirituality and mental health care. And then moving forward, about 25 years ago, clinical psychologists developed competency and assessment tools, and they provided more research-based roadmaps to help address clients' spiritual or religious belief settings in treatment settings. And then around 15 years ago, there was an emergence of a much broader recognition between religion and spirituality and mental health well-being. And I believe it was 2014, there were new information put into the DMS-5, DSM-5, that's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. And so it's been codified. It is ubiquitous in the literature. It's interesting clinical trial in 2020 with Columbia Yale. They posited that we have a neurological home in our cerebral cortex, that spirituality is actually part of our brain matter, regardless of our spiritual beliefs or not. So we're hardwired for this in some way. But now spiritually sensitive practices and using spiritual strategies are very much integrated in whole care models. Many positive outcomes of spiritually sensitive care in clinical trials and medical analysis. We have 300% said that it was an added benefit to overall well-being. And in the real world, the benefits go beyond just improved symptoms into what we call growth-based thriving, optimism, and resilience. So we see increased physical activity, healthier diets, fewer risk-taking behaviors, and just greater overall well-being. And again, looking at why it's important and why we even need to talk about it. In the US, 53% of adults said that religion or some type of spirituality or belief system is very important in their lives. There are shifting trends in the US, right? The percentage of neither religion or spirituality, it's 31%, and that's actually growing. To compare that, the largest religious group in the US is Christianity. There are many, many, many different denominations. However, that neither religious nor spiritual, and also that spiritual but not religious, those domains are definitely increasing. And so finally, a quick sort of historical overview or timeline of the major world religions. As of 2020, Christians were 33.32% of world religions, Muslims 21.1%, Hindus around 15%, non-religious 14% globally. That's a big chunk. Other about 13%, and Buddhist around 6%. And I don't know if you can notice on the right of your screen, on this on the top row, yes, that says Pastafarianism. So this was created by a grad student who started a philosophical movement countering intelligent design. We just want to really make it clear there are many, many, many belief systems and denominations, and there's a lot of historical and cultural interpretation of text meanings and norms. And then when we talk about religions, we do have to mention, sorry, the idea that there are other belief systems, such as indigenous belief systems. These predate Orthodox religions, and these can be termed animism. In general, this is a consciousness that's found in nature, or that a type of spirit animates all things in nature. So animism, shamanism, Native American First Peoples, Aborigine, ancestor worship, paganism, all of these can be looked at predating Orthodox religions. And at the bottom of the screen, you see atheist, agnostic, and secular humanist. So even being an atheist is a belief system. An atheist is a person who believes in nothing. An agnostic has a belief in the possibility of something, of God. And secular is something that is of this world, that's not based in religion or spirituality. And a humanist is a person who believes that the human being, not some outside deity or force, is the starting point for moral or philosophical inquiry. Whew, we got through that. Okay, so if we look at some ways of cultivating well-being, spiritual practices can definitely provide an inner sense of peace and well-being. It doesn't matter what you're doing, the range is very broad. It could be religion, spirituality, science, secular, humanist, whatever it might be. Through these practices, whatever they are, we can move through difficult times, and that helps us to tap into our inner selves. All right, so let's take a look at some spiritual strategies that we might put into place. Being part of a community is a spiritual strategy. Helping a friend or coworker, intimacy, sex, tantric sex might be considered a spiritual strategy. Being of service, nature, music, I love music, dance, movement, solitude, or self reflection, just reading a book. All of these different aspects can be looked at as spiritual strategies, and they all give us hope, resilience, and well being. But I just want to take a breath here for a moment, and I want to ask you folks, what spiritual strategies do you use? Please put it into the chat. What strategies do you use if you're feeling down or you need hope or whatever it is? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Okay, let's see what we've got. Bum, bum, bum. Thank you for that note. Oh, and we just had someone who had to leave because there was a crisis situation. Thank you for letting us know. Meditation, nature walks, ritual, altar setting, prayer and meditation, helping others and prayer. Great. Swimming. Yes, that's wonderful. Prayer and gratitude, reflection, prayer and meditation, walk in nature, prayer and reading, being in nature. I like to journal, take a bath, grief circles, communal singing, yoga. These are all wonderful and so diverse. Thank you. Sometimes a nice walk is all you need, or a change in perspective. Yes. Yoga and meditation, prayer, manifesting, meditation, mindfulness, walks, being present, music, dance, wonderful. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, so let's take a moment and take a breath. Just inhale through your nose up to the top of your head and exhale through your mouth. Okay, so tapping into our inner selves can be a place of refuge, a place of safety, a place with no judgment, a place to just be. All right. Any questions before we move into module 2? You can unmute and speak if you like, or otherwise we'll just keep going. Great. All right, so in module 2, we're going to look at how we integrate these spiritual practices in our lives, but we're going to first take a look at a case study with the LA County Department of Mental Health. This was an exploratory report. It was based on offering spiritually infused services like recreation, wellness, community inclusion, and these services were all community driven. The pilot was run at substance abuse centers and Department of Mental Health Services agencies. So let's take a look at some of these outcomes. And I do want to mention that the pilot was based on the 8 dimensions of wellness. This is used across the board, all over the world. It was developed by Dr. Peggy Schwarbrick around 1999, 2000, I think. But these are 8 dimensions of how we can be whole and healthy, integrative care. And we're looking at the spiritual wellness domain, which recognizes our search for meaning and purpose and developing an appreciation for life, for ourselves and beyond. All right, so some of the results of that case study. Participants at 53 sites reported that the activities improved their well-being by 98%. And at both the substance abuse and mental health wellness sites, you can see the numbers. They benefited greatly from these spiritually fused activities. And another way of integrating spiritual strategies, I mentioned this earlier, is what is called a spiritual assessment tool. These were developed by clinicians. They're standardized. It's a very natural conversation you could have with someone. It really stresses empathetic listening. And so these assessments help navigate spirituality and worldviews to provide more holistic care. Self-assessments, so we as the practitioners or the helpers can also do a self-assessment. These also provide more spiritual agency and a deeper self-knowledge and reflection as we work with others. So let's take a look at 3 models, and then we're going to dive into one, and that's what we're going to do for our breakout room. So assessment tools are very helpful. Here are a few examples. The HOPE, or HOPE model. And this acronym stands for: H is for hope, what helps the client in difficult times. O, are they involved in any organized religion? If not, P, personal spirituality and practices. And E, what effects it might have in their care. The open invite model is much more broad. We just open up the conversation in a humble way to inquire about someone's worldviews, and then we invite that dialogue. And the FICA, or I call it FICA, the FICA motto is faith-based, importance, community, and address and care. And I'm going to dive just a little bit deeper into this motto because this is what you folks are going to be using in a moment in your breakout rooms. All right, so the FICA motto was developed by Dr. Christina Puchalski in 2000, and these are some of the prompts that are part of that assessment. So the F is faith and belief. The prompts would be: do you have spiritual beliefs that help you cope with stress? If not, what gives your life meaning? The next prompt is the I, the importance of it. Have your beliefs or whatever you do influenced how you take care of yourself? And then the C, community. Are you part of a community, spiritual or otherwise? And if so, is this of support to you? And a person might say, yeah, I'm a part of a church or a synagogue, but any type of external community can be community. Friends, 12-step programs, whatever it might be. And then finally, A, address and care. How does this or how would you like to see this addressed in your care? So this is the overview of the FICA model. Benjamin is going to put that into the chat if he hasn't already. And we're going to break out into breakout rooms. And this information is already in the chat for you, but I'm just going to read it over real quickly. So in the breakout groups, you're going to discuss how you might answer or respond to any of the prompts of the FICA assessment. And the goal here is just to explore and share perhaps diverse views on spiritual strategies and mental health well-being. The breakout room will last around 10 or 15 minutes, giving hopefully each person a time to share and for the group to exchange ideas. So have fun, be respectful, of course, and this exercise is optional. You do not need to participate if you feel uncomfortable in any way. All right, welcome back. I think we have a few more people to join. So, welcome back. I only see 10 in the room now.
The rooms are closing, Piney's.
Oh, okay. It's
You just gotta give it 10 seconds.
I need to do a mindfulness meditation, right? I need to take some deep breaths. All right. There we go. I had 44 on my clock. All right, so welcome back, everyone. So we're going to have a few minutes at the end of the presentation, but did anyone want to share some feedback before we wind up with Module 3? You can unmute if anyone just wants to discuss the strategies or anything out of the, speaking with your group. Yes, please.
Me?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hi. Thank you so much for facilitating this workshop today. I'm very much enjoying it, and I had a wonderful experience in my breakout group. Um, I I really what comes to mind is feeling so grateful for the space to even talk about the intersection of spirituality and the work that we do, and hearing from other people about their experience of how the spiritual beliefs impact the work that we do. And in my breakout group, it was, I think the theme and the energy that I'm taking from it is just the humility of not knowing all the answers, and uh, the surrender to the great suffering, the mystery of suffering, the inevitability of suffering, and how to kind of root into the uncomfortable unknown, and the the ambition of compassion that comes, from that that humility, that unknown place. Um, yeah, I don't know if that quite makes sense, but I feel really grateful for that space.
Well, thank you. It's crystal clear, and leads to our next workshop, which is compassion and empathy. Anyone else? Thank you. That's amazing. Okay, Keith, thank you for letting us know you need to go. Anyone want to respond to that or add anything else?
I can hop in here. I was actually in the group with Keith and Jessica and Terry. I think it was just a really nice discussion. I think just talking about the differences and maybe similarities and kind of how we view ourselves in this world and how our spiritual slash religious beliefs like affect that and our relationship with ourselves and others and things like that. So yeah, kind of just going off of what Tin just mentioned about just even being grateful for that space. I think that's part of why I signed up for this, just because I was like, just even grateful to have the space to talk about this with other fellow, working individuals and humans. So, yeah.
Wonderful. That is so important to have that space, right? Thank you, Grace. Anyone else? Just jump in, just unmute, talk, share, scream. My tooth hurts. Go ahead, Rosa. Thank you.
So in my group, we were talking about how you can turn the suffering and pain into something positive. So into bringing awareness, into helping others for prevention, and how sharing all of that helps you, heal and support others.
Thank you. You know, it's so strange, I find, in our work or even just in our lives, even if we have a practice, sometimes we just forget, right? You know, it's like, for example, everything that could possibly go wrong today has gone wrong, you know, and it's so important to just remember to just take a breath or to realize that, you know, even whatever it is, just to know that there are liked minds in the world who are also trying to figure it out. And it is good to do this as a community. I'm so glad you're all here. Anyone else want to share anything before we move on? All right, so let's wind this puppy up. Thank you. So for our final mod, we are just going to do a quick mindfulness exercise. I do think we have time. Great. Another strategy is, we've discussed a broad range of spiritual strategies. And now we're going to do mindfulness just for a quick second. So mindfulness can be described as Dr. Kabat-Zinn does as the awareness that rises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally. This is a secular practice. It's a blending of ancient wisdom and 21st century science. Mindfulness-based cognitive therapy is pretty much ubiquitous, and it's just about acknowledging our present moment in reality as it is. You know, this is the first step to shifting our experience of that reality, whether it's a toothache or burnout or stress or trauma, anxiety, depression, whatever it is. There's robust research on the efficacy of mindfulness practices and suicide prevention. It shows that it better manages repetitive, destructive emotions and a sense of hopelessness. It decreases suicide attempts and psychiatric hospitalization, and it provides better overall health. So again, mindfulness is being present and aware in the moment with no judgment. And mindfulness can be anything. All right, so we're going to do this short mindfulness exercise. It lasts about 5 minutes, and I think that it'll take us right to the top of the hour. So you certainly do not need to participate if you don't want to, but just sit in your, wherever you are. If you're driving, don't do this, okay? Just get comfortable and roll your shoulders and take a few deep breaths. Just inhale and exhale normally. Inhale and exhale. And don't even think about, you know, any particular type of breathing, like box breathing or anything. Just inhale and exhale. Deep breath through your nose to the top of your head and exhale through your mouth. And just breathe. All right. And gently close your eyes. I'm going to sound a Tibetan bell. All right, let's begin. Sit in a comfortable but attentive posture, allowing your back to be straight but not rigid or stiff. Feel your head balanced on your shoulders. Allow your face and jaw to relax, with arms and hands resting in a comfortable position. And just inhale and exhale. Be attentive to what's happening within your own awareness right here and right now without judgment. As you sit, begin to notice these sensations of breath. Pay attention for a moment to how your abdomen moves on each in-breath and out breath. The movement of air through your nostrils. The slight movement of your chest and shoulders. Find the spot in your body where the sensation of breathing is most vivid. Whether it be your abdomen, your chest, or your shoulders, or the movement of air through your nostrils. See how fully aware you can be of your whole cycle of breathing, recognizing that each part of the cycle is different from the other part. You will notice your attention shifting away from the breath from time to time. It's perfectly normal for thoughts to wander into fantasies, memories, worries, or things you need to do. When you notice your mind has wandered, try to meet it with a spirit of friendliness. You don't need to do anything about it. There is nothing to fix. Rather than forcing it, just try to allow yourself to become curious about what it's like to be breathing right now. And you'll find that the attention is naturally drawn back to the physical sensations of breath as it moves through your body. Stay alert, relaxed, and above all, compassionate as you maintain awareness of where the mind goes. Each time you notice the mind has been distracted or has wandered, gently shift your awareness back to sensations of breath. Notice the tendency to want to control your breathing. Let the quality of attention be light and easy, one of simply observing and noticing. You don't need to control the duration, intensity, pace, or the pause between each breath. Just be present. As this mindfulness exercise comes to an end, recognize that you spent this time intentionally aware of your moment-to-moment experience, building the capacity for opening the senses to the vividness, to the change, to the aliveness of the present moment, expanding your skill to be curious about and open to whatever presents itself without judgment. So whenever you're ready, allow your eyes to slowly open and gently bring your attention back to the space you're in. All right, that was nice tuning in. That always makes me feel better. So we are approaching the 2 o'clock. I hope that that you feel better after doing this exercise. You know, I always like to say that mindfulness is person-centered self-care, meaning that we meet ourselves where we are with compassion and without judgment. This is a handout you folks already have. Use that as tools. And I just want to remind you that our fall workshop is on 9/9/2024, and it's about empathy and compassion. We hope to see you there. We're going to open it up. Thank you so much. We have some other slides. Don't forget Alive Together, but we just want to open it up for a little bit of Q&A. We have a minute or so. You're free to hang out. The exit survey QR code is on your screen. It's also been put into the chat. And I just want to thank you all for being here. Yay. Thank you so much.